Hello everybody, El Guapo Lime here. I hope you can hear me well, because if you can't hear me, then we're gonna have a problem. But for the most part, I think you can hear me. I just bought a new mic, which doesn't matter, because I didn't really have an old mic. This is my first YouTube video, and what better way to kickstart a YouTube channel than to do a video over an incredibly niche subject, uh, which is a tier ranking of the entirety of the Danganronpa video game franchise. Now, a lot of people don't know what Danganronpa is, so I assume that if you're here, you already know what Danganronpa is, so we don't have to go into exorbitant amount of detail describing what exactly Danganronpa is. But just a general rundown. It's a murder mystery video game franchise that has won the hearts and minds of so many people around the world, and I'm one of them. And that is why I'm here today to bestow upon you the official tier ranking of all of these characters. Now, keep in mind, these are just my opinions, even though I'm going to be talking about them as though they are objective fact, which, you can make the argument. I'm going to make the argument that it's objective fact, but really, at the end of the day, it's subjective. You can disagree with me, and I know for a fact that a lot of people will disagree with a lot of my opinions because I'm a very opinionated person, and I have some spicy takes. A little bit of ground rules that I want to set before we get into the ranking, kind of trying to give, a gist of what's going on here. We have the standard list, S tier all the way down to F tier, pretty self-explanatory. We have an unrankable tier, which is basically where, because there are some characters here that really are just placeholders for plot, and we don't have to talk about them. We don't have to really rank them or treat them like characters. So I'm not going to do that because I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to waste your time. I'm going to try and keep all of my reasons and explanations for certain rankings very brief. This is not actually my first time trying this. I did a I attempted to do a video all the way through of all the rankings of all the characters, and I just went full throttle and didn't leave anything out, said everything that was on my mind like I thought I should do, and it ended up being a 2-hour long video. And I do not want this to be a 2-hour long video. I didn't even get to the third video game, which is, yeah. So, that being said, it's because I'm not going to get to every waking detail of my opinions on every single thing, of which there are many. If you want to hear my specific take on some of these characters, or just the games in general, or even the light novels and the anime, because we're going to be talking about those too. Feel free to let me know, and I will make. Who knows? Maybe we can make. We can. I say we as though you're gonna make them videos for me, but I can see if I can't make a video or two explaining my thoughts and feelings on certain characters, because I promise you are going to disagree with some of these rankings. And hey, if you don't disagree with any of these rankings, then, well, congratulations, you have a functional brain. So yeah, I recently, so as you can see, we have characters from all 3 games plus the anime and a couple light novels, and I recently just finished playing Danganronpa V3 Killing Harmony, which is the 3rd video game, and it's the final one of the timeline, really. And so I finished that maybe like a week or so ago, maybe a little less than a week. I don't know. And I played. I did like the salmon uh, bonus mode where I did everyone's free time events. So I'm going into this ranking. I know virtually all you can know about these characters within the games because I've done all the free time events. I've played through all the bonus content. There might have been a couple of like hidden bonus clips that I didn't get to, but for the overwhelming part, I have done my due diligence in learning about these characters because I think it's only fair. You can't rank a character if you don't understand the character, if you don't appreciate the character, or really just know anything about the character. So a couple things. I know we're already going a bit long, so I'm gonna try and keep this brief. But my decisions for rankings, ultimately it's gonna be pretty subjective. But basically, what I'm looking for is two main things: is how I personally feel about a character. This obviously plays a big role in determining my opinion of them, and also just how well the character was written. And those are two distinctly different things, because I feel as though you can have a character that you don't necessarily like, but you can appreciate that they were well written. And then vice versa. Like there are a few characters, and I think we all have those characters that probably could have been written better, could have had more screen time, could have had more development, but we love them anyway. So I think it's only fair to make that distinction. But both of those, correlates into how we feel about a character. And of course, major spoilers for literally everything in this franchise going from here on out, if I haven't spoiled anything already, which 7 minutes in, I'm surprised I haven't, but you know what? It's fine. I'm going to try and go in order of the series. So I'm going to start with Trigger Happy Havoc, which is the first game. Then I'm going to go to Goodbye Despair, which is the second game. Then I'm going to go to Danganronpa Zero, which is a light novel. Ultra Despair Girls, which is the spin-off game. Ultra Despair Hagakure, which is another light novel. The DR3 anime. And then I will conclude with V3. And I mean, that's kind of how I went through them all. So I feel it's only appropriate that I rank them in that specific order. But yeah, I'm saying that specifically. I'll try to put timestamps in the description. But I say that specifically so that you know when I'm getting to specific parts, and you can skip around the video and try to avoid spoilers for things that you haven't seen or read, maybe, because I know not everyone has read the light novels and whatnot. I'm just a big nerd, so I did it, and I didn't have much else to do for the past few months. So without further ado, let us start with the ultimate swimmer, Aoi Asahina. And you know what? She's really cute. She's really sweet, funny. Just positive vibes. So I think it's safe to put her up in A tier. She is, of course, one of the survivors, so she does get some more time to develop than other characters. And I think of the survivors, barring Makoto and Kyoko, she probably has the best development as a character. But I'm really partial to Aoi. I like cheery, upbeat characters, generally speaking. On the opposite end of the spectrum, we have Byakuya Tagami, the ultimate scion or affluent progeny, depending on the translation. He's a bit of a butt, but you know what? He's our butt. He's the original antagonist, and he does a pretty good job of antagonizing Makoto and the gang, and I think he really does come into his own later on. He really has his major moment, which is kind of surprising, in the second chapter, and then he becomes less of a dick throughout the rest of the series, which is nice. He feels like a real person, and that's really appreciated, especially in an anime where everyone is like caricatures of themselves. Celeste, I'm gonna put her in B, and the reason that she's going to be in B is is not necessarily because I think she's an exceptionally well-written character. I think that she could have been written a lot better. She has one of my favorite aesthetics in the game, and I really love the voice actress, and I gotta be upfront. I gotta be real. I mean, if you're not a simp for Celeste, then I don't know what you are. I don't know what you're doing with your life. So we're going to put her slightly ahead of Byakuya. Then everyone's favorite, Chihiro Fujisaki, cute little programmer boy. He's my boy. He's my special boy. Spoiler alert, he's a boy. That's a boy. This is a man. And we can get into the whole argument over how he identifies. Pretty sure canonically speaking, he is a man, and he would prefer to identify as a man. But we can have that conversation on another time. I know that people like to interpret it differently, but I disagree. I'm not dwelling too long on anyone, trying not to anyway, because we're 10 minutes in and only 4 characters are on this list. So Hifumi Yamada is the ultimate fanfiction creator. Initially, I would put him in F tier, but I kind of want to put him in E tier just because I feel bad. But then I see him up there in E tier, and I just don't think he deserves it. I think that there are so many missed opportunities with Hifumi. There are probably a couple of Hifumi fans in the world. Maybe there are some watching this video. I think if you're a Hifumi fan, you're probably not going to be too surprised to find your boy low on the list. He's not low on most people's lists. I just think compared to literally all of these characters who are so much more fleshed out and have a better design, are more appealing, just a better personality, more realistic personality, I feel like the definition of a caricature is Hifumi. So I can't really vibe with him. I'm sorry. I apologize. It's not my fault. It's his fault. Junko Enoshima. Okay. This might get me into some hot water. I'll put her in D. Initially, I would have her in like E or F tier, and I'm trying to keep her all in. I'm ranking her with the Trigger Happy because that's when she was introduced, but I'm including basically everything that we know about her from the entirety of the series. She's obviously a very important character. She's the main antagonist, the one behind everything. So obviously, credit where credit is due. She's kind of too important to be put lower than that, I think. Also, I think she actually, as annoying as it is to have her always be the mastermind, I think the second and third games really do a good job of bringing it home with her. I don't know. I feel like the more she got used, actually, the better of a character she became, because she was really annoying in the first game, and in later installments of the franchise, they kind of fleshed her out a little bit more, and it was better, but she still leaves a bad taste in my mouth, and I can't really stand her for too long. So D is she's a necessary evil, but I don't really care for her that much. Taka is a necessary good, and he's a good boy. Big Kiyotaka Ishimaru eyebrows. Look at him. I just want him to tell me not to run in the halls, so that I can tell him to piss off. That's what I'm gonna say. I'll stick with that. Taka's a brilliant character. He would hate to be called brilliant, but you get what I'm saying. I think he's a really, really nice guy, really chill guy. Well, not chill. He's not chill. Not at all. But that's why we love him, right? So he gets to be an A tier because I think that they do a really good job of kind of, explaining why he's the way that he is. I think his free time events are probably some of the most compelling because he's very, very socially awkward, but he's also very people person kind of guy. He cares a lot about people, and he has very strong emotions, and I think that is that's really something to commend, I think. I don't know. And of course, his relationship with Mondo, who, if I can just, step outside for a bit and just put Mondo up, his relationship with Mondo is incredibly poignant, and chapter 2 is just a beautiful chapter. I think it's probably the second best chapter, maybe even the best chapter in the first game. That's something that we can talk about later, but Mondo and Taka, I feel like they have to be together. They're both very stereotypical on the surface, but they have so much more to offer once you start peeling back those layers. And I think that they do a really good job of incorporating their backstories and their personalities into the course of the game. Anyway, back on track. Kyoko Kirigiri, the original Ultimate Waifu. Yeah, she goes to S tier. I know that there's, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of people who love Kyoko Kirigiri for good reason, obviously. I agree with those people. There are also a lot of people who do not like Kyoko, and it's for the exact reason that people like her. It is kind of basic to like Kyoko. I'm not gonna lie, it is very basic to like Kyoko. But I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with liking Kyoko. I mean, you can have your criticisms of Kyoko, and maybe in your opinion, you can like Kyoko and think that she doesn't deserve S tier, and that's totally fine. I can definitely see why you might think that she doesn't belong in S tier, and I am trying to be selective with S tier. We're not going to get very many more people up here. It just looks that way because we've only put like this small amount, like 8-9 people on this list already. So, but no, yeah, I think Kyoko is really exploring her, and especially her relationship with her grandfather and her father. I think adds more to her character that meets the eye, and I think a lot of that comes into play, and it comes into play later on, kind of. But I really appreciate the time that they took with Kyoko's character, and she really isn't emotionless. Like, she's very upfront about, well, not very upfront, but like eventually when you get past her walls, she's like, yeah, of course I feel emotions. Of course I'm an emotional person. I'm a human being. Damn it. I mean, yeah, I feel things. I am bad at expressing them. I can't express them. I think that might have more to do with like how her grandfather raised her or whatever. I don't know. I haven't read any of the Kirigiri light novels, so I don't really know that much about her past, other than what's given in everything else but those light novels. So yeah, sorry, I rambled for Kyoko for a bit there. Trying to be brief. Leon Kuwata, ultimate punk rocker. Just let him live his dream. Let him live his dream. Let him live in love. I like him more than Byakuya. I like Celeste more because Celeste does more. I can make a whole video talking about why I love Leon, so I'm not going to do that right now. But the point is, I love Leon. I love his design. I love his personality. I love his character. I love his execution. I love Leon Kuwata, and you can't take that away from me. Someone I don't love is Makoto Naegi, but I'm going to put him here anyway, because I don't think I can put him lower than B, and I don't think he deserves higher than B. Makoto's Makoto. I mean, he's the player character. It's generic as heck. You can't really do anything with that. I mean, I'm sorry. I know, it's really the point, and you can say there are a lot of people who love Makoto, and that's fine. Again, like, this is my opinion. I don't love Makoto. I don't care for very insert name here protagonists kind of thing. I really don't consider them to be characters. I enjoy Makoto when he's not the main character. I'll leave it at that. He's enjoyable, not as a main character. As a main character, he's kind of just plain and forgettable, and that's the point, but that doesn't mean that I have to like it. Mukuro Ukasaba, the 16th student lying somewhere hidden in this school, the one that they call the ultimate despair. Watch out for her. Did I do the meme right? I hope I did the meme right. I don't know if I did the meme right. I always forget because it's a long meme. But Mukuro is hard to rank because I feel like a lot of why I like her comes from really good fanfiction that I've read and written, and less so from her canon. And I don't even know if she is really a full C tier character. If we're going to count Danganronpa as the closest you can get to canon, it's like canon fanfiction essentially. Then she has a character, but she doesn't, you know, like, and they flesh it out in the anime, but it's dumb. I don't. It's because I don't like Junko, and so any character that's just like obsessed with Junko loses my respect. And Mukuro Kusaba's a badass, don't get me wrong, but she just doesn't do anything, and she doesn't have really a character or a personality. I mean, she does. I shouldn't say that she doesn't, but she just gets so shafted, you know? I feel like she doesn't get that much. I don't want to put her lower than C, but I cannot in good conscience put her higher than it because she just doesn't do much of anything, really. It's hard. It's hard to explain. I'm not going to dwell on it for much longer, but Mukuro is just, she's way too hard to be able to rank accurately, especially after all the fan fiction that I read and write about her. Sakura Ugami, on the other hand, is fair game for A tier, and I would put her right behind Aoi. Sakura's trial, the Chapter 4 trial in Trigger Happy, is probably, again, is up there with the Chapter 2, you know. It's really good. Sakura's a really good person, and she and Hina make for some really awesome bonding moments. I appreciate both of their characters so much. Do I ship them? That is an entirely different beast. Yes and no. There are some contexts where I will ship them, and there are other contexts where I won't. You know, I've read fanfiction that ships them and fanfiction that doesn't ship them, and some of them are good and some of them are bad, and that's about it. You know, I think it's a case by case basis, and that's really one of the few ships that I'm kind of like either or on. You know, I don't know. That might be a topic for a different day. I think. Okay, so we have 3 more characters for Trigger Happy before we go to Goodbye Despair. Sayaka Mizuno. So I put Leon Kuwata pretty high up on my list, and because of that, normally people who love Leon or like Leon don't like Sayaka and put her right there and call Sayaka a snake and a terrible person and, you know, just bully and harass Sayaka. People who like Sayaka find it the other way around. You know, as you can see, I like Leon, and that means that by default, I hate Sayaka. Did I trick you? Did I get you? I actually don't hate Sayaka. Actually, I love Sayaka. You got pranked. You got pranked, son. Yeah, go figure. I love Leon to death. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. But I love Sayaka slightly more than Leon, and I think Leon and Sayaka for me are 2 of the most realistic characters in the entire franchise, and that's part of the reason why I love them so much. I think they both exhibit the most realistic reaction towards the killing game, more than any other character, and their actions that result from being put in that environment really boost my opinion of them in my eyes. That's why I think that they're both in B tier. There are other reasons, but again, I'm not going to get into that right now. I can elaborate on a later day. Toko Fukawa. If we were just ranking based off of the first game, she would stay right around here. But again, and spoilers for Ultra Despair Girls. If you have not played Ultra Despair Girls, please, I beg you, I implore you, play Ultra Despair Girls. Because what they do with Toko Fukawa is what they should do with every character. She gets absolutely redeemed. I'll put her in low A tier because I still harbor some resentment from her being insufferably annoying in the first game. But she really comes into her own in Ultra Despair Girls, and that's just facts. You can't dispute that. Her character arc is tremendous, and it really shows just how. I think Kadaka at one point said that when they were creating the characters, they had to, the way that they wrote them was so that if need be, they could each be the protagonist of their own story. And I think nowhere is that more displayed than with Toko in Ultra Despair Girls. So props to that writing team, really, for bringing the best out of Toko Fukawa. On the flip side, Hero doesn't really change much. It's a C from me. Even factoring in Ultra Despair Hagakure, which granted does give him more personality and more likability and charisma, he doesn't go nearly as high up as Toko does because he just doesn't get as much revision and attention as she does. Because she gets a whole video game, 6-chapter video game with arcs and plot, and he gets a light novel, which is a great light novel. Please, if you haven't, read Ultra Despair Hagakure. But it is not enough to boost him higher than C. Both he and Toko really get annoying at the end. I'm of Trigger Happy. I'm kind of bummed that they picked them to be survivors over other characters that would have benefited more from being survivors, especially since they didn't do anything with Toko and Hiro in the first game, and it took them having to have a spin-off game to actually do stuff with them. But all that said and done, what are you gonna do? Hero's hero. He's every anime has a hero. Yes. Monokuma. Should I rank Monokuma now or later? I'm gonna rank him later, actually. Ooh, Genocide. We need to do Genocide Jack. Genocide's cool. We'll put her right after Toko. Genocide was a pretty consistently good character. I liked her in the original game. I liked her more than Toko, and I hated it every time she went back to Toko. But Toko gets character development, and Genocide is just a gag. It's a side gag. Anyway, all right. With that, okay. Hopefully, we're making good time. I don't know. We're almost at 30 minutes, and I just got to the second game, so we're gonna breeze through this. Akane. I'm putting her in C only because there's a YouTuber who does Danganronpa content named Eris Akamatsu. If you are unfamiliar with her content, please check it out. She recently posted a video about Akane and why she's an underrated character. And I gotta say, it convinced me that Akane is a better character than I gave her credit for, so I'm putting her in C tier for that reason. Go check it out. It's really good. It's worth your time. I still can't put her up higher because she is still kind of very annoying. Chiaki, very not annoying, very A tier. I'm gonna get a lot of flack for putting Chiaki in A tier, and that's fine. And yes, I'm including I'm including anime Chiaki. I'm including real Chiaki. But by the way, spoilers for the entirety of Super Danganronpa 2. The Chiaki you know is not the Chiaki that the world knows. It's not the real Chiaki. It doesn't make her less of a likable character, because I love Chiaki. I love Chiaki in the game. I love Chiaki in the anime. Chiaki is a good person, a good girl. And for a lot of people, she is ultimate waifu. I can't say that I see it that way. I definitely appreciate and love Chiaki with all my heart and soul, but she's not my type, I guess. I don't know. Maybe she is. I don't think she is. But, yeah. Chiaki's great. She just doesn't have, I think, as much of character development as these two appear, which is why I put her just behind Sakura. But that's not to diminish my love for, anyone. Really, anybody above C and above are characters that I like. And then, like, halfway through B and above are, like, characters that I love. Anyway. Fuyuhiko Kuzuryu, the ultimate Yakuza, ultimate gangster. I gotta say, Fuyuhiko is deserving of S tier. I think he has one of the best written character developments in the entirety of the franchise, and quite possibly, one of the best that I've seen anywhere in media, period. Way to take a character who is very, anti-everybody and just a pain in the ass and a dick the entire time, and, like, actually go through the steps of making him feel remorse for being a dick, and actually actively contributing to the group and trying to be better and changing himself, going through a transformation, a legitimate transformation. Unlike Byakuya, who just kind of started being slightly less of a dick, but not even really, because he was still very much a dick. Gundam Tanaka is an easy A for me. Quite possibly the highest of the A. I think a lot of people love Gundam, but there is a very vocal minority of people who don't like Gundam because of the way that he talks, and you just assume that it's very superficial. People only like Gundam because he pretends to be this evil overlord type of guy, and I think those are people who are missing the mark. Everything that Gundam says, that's part of the reason why I love his character, everything that Gundam says is not meant to be taken literally. There's almost always a layer of subtext. And that's not like, people talk about, like, oh, it's, I have, like, a fan theory that Gundam really meant this. This was the real reason that he killed Nekomaru in the funhouse. It's because he didn't want everyone to starve. But there's nothing to prove that. It's like, that's not a theory. That's subtext. I think people read that and they try to make a fan theory about it, and this is a semantic argument, but it's literally canon that is what he did. And because, he has such a good moral fiber and a very strong moral philosophy, which is surprising coming from him, but really it isn't when you actually take the time to get to know him and stuff. He's a really well-written character, and I quite appreciate him in that. Hajime Hinata, the ultimate nobody, is better than Makoto, better than Byakuya, and he's technically better than Leon, Sayaka, and Celeste, but I'm leaving him there because, he's still a little bit plain to me. And he's less nice than Makoto. And he's more of a pervert than Makoto, I think. In my humble opinion, because Makoto never walked into a shower filled with... Well, he did. He did go into the bathroom, to the shower room where there were. And there were technically more girls that he perved on than Hajime. But I say Hajime is worse because Hajime perved on little Hyoko Saionji down here, who I'm going to put in C tier, and I'm going to put her in front of Mukuro, and we'll talk about her in a little bit. But Hajime perved on Hyoko Saionji when she looked like a 12-year-old, not when she looked like an 18-year-old, as she does in real time. Which, I'm not condoning perverted behavior at all, but if I had to pick a lesser of two evils, spying on girls that look like your age is, I guess, not as bad as spying on girls who appear to not be the same age. I don't know. Maybe that's a distinction without a difference. Maybe I'm just saying stupid things that I shouldn't be saying. But it's not really why Hajime is that low. I'm just making something out of nothing. I don't know. Hajime does go through a pretty good character arc, and he gets more interesting. He would probably be lower on the list than Makoto if it weren't for the last trial, honestly. But that said, he's still not going in A tier. No, screw that noise. Hyoko goes into C tier because I actually like Hyoko, and she just got shafted. She got robbed of her Fuyuhiko moment, which was unfortunate, but I guess you can only have so many Fuyuhikos in one story before it gets cumbersome and overused. Ibuki, I shouldn't put her in A tier, but Ibuki is the closest that you can get to becoming a Danganronpa waifu without being a Danganronpa waifu. And that's just facts. That's just facts. Is Ibuki Miyota my type? No, because she's a 2D anime girl, and I'm not Hifumi. But Ibuki is also very much similar to Gundam in the sense that she says a lot of crazy things, but she has a reason for saying weird things. And it's that reason being that she cares so deeply about the people around her that she wants to distract them from, the pains of life. And that's such a beautiful concept that I feel like Ibuki, was so much more deserving of something. They just gave her nothing. And ultimately that's what sucks the hardest. Kazuichi. My friend has a big crush on Kazuichi. And not to shit on her or anything, but I don't know why. Kazuichi is kind of a coward. He's a coward. Kazuichi is kind of a simp. He's a simp. Kazuichi is kind of a nerd. He's a nerd. Does that make him a bad character? No, I'm not saying that makes him a bad character. I think that makes him a good character, actually. He has a pretty compelling character. I think he's a better hero than Hero was, but I actually think that it's a more apt comparison. I think he's the Toko of his game, not the hero of his game, because he simps hardcore for the rich girl, who we can talk about now. I guess I'm skipping ahead, but Sonia is Sonia. I mean, I don't blame him for simping for Sonia, but he still does, and he does it almost as creepy. No, wait, no, not as creepy as Toko. He does it more normally, like what you would expect from, a teenage guy with like a healthy-ish relationship with his mind. But Sonia's just a gem. I'm sorry. There again, it falls into the same kind of category. I think there are some characters in here who some people might find cliche, and I try to take a different approach. I don't think that they're cliche. I quite like Sonia. She's cute. She's funny. She has a lot of funny lines and moments, and I really appreciate the amount of depth that, I don't know. I guess they don't really give her much of like a plot. She just has a lot of very funny moments that I think make up for her lack of character and plot. Mahiru is Yeah, Mahiru's awesome. And that's all you need to know. Mikan, I vote Mikan, the character I most want to give a hug to. I don't know if she would take a hug from me without, like, pissing herself, but I want to give her a hug. Again, I think the same deal with, like, Hiyoko and Ibuki. I think Chapter 3 of Super Danganronpa 2 Goodbye Despair was just not the best executed. And I really wish that it had been better. Nagito! Yeah, I just upset a lot of people, didn't I? There, I'll make it better. It's not better. I'm not going to talk about Nagito right here, right now. Nagito's annoying. I'm sorry. And he doesn't have a character. Like, having a philosophy does not equal having a character trait. That's all I'm going to say about Nagito Komaeda, the ultimate lucky student / bullshit. Nekomaru Nidai, on the other hand, taking shits and yelling a lot does make you a really good character. I'm going to put him in B tier, right in front of Celeste, because he doesn't quite ascend to A tier, but he is a really good guy. And I appreciate that about him. Peko Pekoyama, I really wish... I've come to endear myself more to her recently, especially given her free time events, I think do a lot to humanize her, but within the context of the actual game, it's kind of upsetting how little effort they put into making her as redeemable as Fuyuhiko. The whole sparkling justice thing is really annoying. It, like, not even, like, joking. That is some of the most annoying shit ever in any Danganronpa game, and that's just facts. If you disagree with that, you're wrong. Facts don't care about your feelings. But yeah, other than that, Peko is pretty solid. Teruteru Hanamura. I put him in front of these characters because at least he has a character. I just dunked so hard on them. I know I said I didn't condone perversion, and that is why he's at C tier and not higher, because if he wasn't a pervert, he would be higher. Because I think Teruteru has a really good character, a really good backstory, really, I think his Chapter 1 trial is, definitely a step up from Trigger Happy Havoc's first trial. And again, if he was just better about controlling his mouth, he might be higher, but I just cannot in any way, shape, or form condone that, I guess. It's not even necessary that it's bad, it's just annoying. Like, obviously it's bad, and I don't appreciate it, but it's more annoying. Like, it marks against him because it takes away from his personality up until the point of the trial where he actually starts, having a personality. But that's besides the point. Byakuya. Sorry, not Byakuya. Ultimate Imposter. More like ultimate underrated character. Ultimate Imposter gets top tier, B tier. And there's nothing you can do to change my mind about that. 43 minutes in. Good God. Only have 2 games up here. Manami / Usami. We'll give her low B tier. She's cute and she's necessary, but she can be a little bit annoying at times, and I'm not going to hold that against her, really. That's just a personal thing. Izuru Kamakura. Talk about disappointing. How boring, indeed, Izuru Kamakura. The concept is good, and that's why he's not an F tier. It's the execution that really gets me annoyed, because I don't think we've just seen, and this is including the anime. The anime does a better job of showing him, but I still think it's so underwhelming. I don't know, I feel like there were so many more things that could be explored with Izuru that just were not, and it's not really their fault, because there's a twist at the end. They kind of are on time crunch, but that's just how the dice fall, and I apologize for it, but that's how I feel. Ultra Despair Girls is next, and Kamaru Naegi is A tier. Certified A tier. Makoto is the everyman, done like every other everyman character ever. Kamaru is the everyman, done a way that everymen are seldom ever done. And I don't know, there's something about Kamaru that makes her character just work that much better than Makoto, who has just as much bullshit powers as Nagito does. But Kamaru, you know, I don't know. There's something very charming about Kamaru. She actually has a personality other than, oh, I'm a lucky boy. And she really develops well. And I think that, again, spoilers for Ultra Despair Girls, but at the end where you're trying to decide whether or not to break the controller, I love the fact that she never decides. She cannot choose. And it's up to Toko to save the day, which is part of the reason why I love her so much, because at the end of the day, she didn't like develop hope powers or anything and like become the savior. She's still a high school girl. Like, you're basically saying that, oh, under the right circumstances, just a random normal high school girl can, save the goddamn world. And maybe that's true, but I think it's more realistic to say, hey, yeah, she I don't know. The ending of Ultra Despair Girls is one that really butters my croissants, and it's really well done, I think. Haiji Toa. Hiroko Hagakure. Ultimate MILF. Hiroko doesn't have a character, she doesn't have a plot, she doesn't have... The only relevance she has to the story is finding the hit lists. You know what, that's fine, that's cool, we can do that. That's totally valid. But she can't go higher because she doesn't have any relevance to the plot. Oh, sorry, did I forget to talk about Haiji Toa? What? Impossible. Let's see, who else do we have? Jotaro Kimuri goes to B tier. All the Warriors of Hope will be in B tier, except for Monica, she's going to C tier. I'm going to talk about them collectively, because I have a lot to say about them collectively. Most of what I have to say is collectively, and Monica's a little shit, so she goes there. Nagisa's the best, then Kodako, then Jotaro, then Masaru. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. I love that song. I don't know if people find that annoying or not, but every time that song played, I lost my shit. I love it so much. It's a really good song. The Ultra Despair Girls soundtrack slaps. I don't think that game period gets enough credit, but especially not the soundtrack. The Warriors of Hope are, it's hard to judge them based off of, like, comparatively speaking. Within the context of their games, they're really well-written characters. And all their motivations make sense, and they're all compelling, even though they're all diabolical little demons. But they're not, they're just kids. I mean, you can go back and forth with that kind of argument. But the point being, I think, for what they are very well written and very well constructed. You can both sympathize with them, but also not at the same time. And that's, I think, the mark of a really well done, complex character. They are very much the epitome of like gray, the gray area. Monica is not the gray area. Monica's just a little shit, okay? But she's excellent at being a little shit, which is why she's in C tier. Because I appreciate the fact that she is such a little shit. And I put her below Haiji, and I'll talk about Haiji now, I guess. Because I think, barring the two lines that make everyone hate Haiji, and that is the fact that he's a pedophile, which, again, I don't like to detract anything from, characters. Obviously, every line that is canonically said is canonically who Haiji Toa is, and I cannot change that. That said, I really, he never acts on his pedophilia, and it's never important to his character, important to the plot. It's not relevant. The only reason it comes up is to make like an awkward couple of jokes that don't really land well in a Western audience. I don't know what the intention was. Maybe the intent was lost somewhere in translation, but I just don't think that is enough to, ostensibly destroy Haiji Toa as a character. Because I think Haiji Toa as a character falls under the same kind of category as the Warriors of Hope, in the sense that he, is like kind of a douchey good guy. Whereas the Warriors of Hope are like sympathetic antagonists. They're sympathetic villains. Haiji is like an an anti-sympathetic hero, kind of. But at the same time, because he's like a hero and he's technically fighting on the right side or whatever, I guess. I don't know. His character is written in such a way that you understand where he's coming from, and you have to. You don't have to, I guess, but I respect that aspect of him. Let's just put the captives, because that's where they're going. Except for Kana Nakajima goes to B tier, and Kenishiro goes to D tier. Fucking stink bug. I guess we can talk about. No, we're not going to talk about Monokuma yet. Yeah, so the captives, again, these are really placeholder characters. Well, actually, I'm going to put Fujito in B tier, because he's kind of a dick. He does have more of a personality and a plot relevance than all these other characters. I guess so does. Yeah. But that said, I don't suppose. Fujito's kind of a dick. Kenny, I'm calling him Kenny. Kenny, this is Sakura's boyfriend. Fujito Kirigiri is Kyoko Kirigiri's grandfather. And it's Jin Kirigiri's dad, and the relationship, this is part of why I like Kyoko. So basically, if you don't know, this is a spoiler for Kyoko's life and backstory. Basically, Kyoko, the Kirigiri family has a long line of being detectives. Fujito was a detective, and he wanted his son Jin to be a detective, but Jin didn't want to be a detective, and so at some point, this is a very oversimplification of it, so don't get mad at me. But at some point, Jin was like, nah, screw this, I don't want to be a detective, and Fujito got mad, basically disowned him, and stole his daughter, Kyoko, and raised her as, basically as the heir to the Kirigiri family business, and that is the reason why Jin and Kyoko never saw each other, because she was raised by her grandfather, and her grandfather basically propagandized her to hate her father. So that's why she kind of has a bad relationship with her father. And I think that's I'll go ahead and put Jin Kirigiri, underrated character as hell, underrated as hell. But that's kind of the main gist of it. Jin is a really cool guy. He deserved more. He deserved to see his daughter and to reconcile with her. And it really hurts my heart that never happens. Anyway, where was I? Kenny, Sakura's boyfriend, really adds more to Sakura. There isn't much that we know about him, so I can't put him higher than D. But he seems like a chill guy. If Sakura can fall in love with him, then he must be a really cool guy. Look at that smile. I mean, he looks pretty chill. Kana Nakajima. To touch on her briefly, she is the secondary protagonist in Ultra Despair Hagakure. She is Leon Kawada's captive. She is his little cousin. But because they grew up together and they're so close, they treat each other like siblings. So Leon looks at her like a little sister, and she looks at him like a big brother. The catch is that she is like a total, well, not like a yandere, but she's like totally obsessed with Leon in like a romantic incestual way. And Leon, who thankfully is not into incest, is like, hey, we ain't like that. Like, we're close, but we're not like that. That's not how the type of close that we are. But the great thing about Ultra Despair Hagakure is that it not only fleshes out, Hero, but it fleshes out Canon, who is a character that otherwise would not have been fleshed out like all of these other people down here. And it also fleshes out Leon and makes him kind of a more interesting and compelling person, because you can tell that he really does care about Canon, and it's nice. It's a nice thing to see. It's a nice thing to have, and it adds more to their character, obviously, like I just said. I want to talk about the Monokumas. Okay. Kurokuma is ass. Shirokuma is slightly less ass, but is still ass. Monokuma initially, I really like Monokuma. If we were just ranking him based off of Trigger Happy Havoc, Monokuma would probably be in B tier, higher than Monami and Usami. If we were going off of Danganronpa 2, he'd probably still be in B tier, like right next to Monami Usami. Factoring in V3, and this is jumping the gun a little bit, but factoring in V3, Monokuma's character just gets so irritating and annoying to me that I literally, like, I wanted him dead. Like, I wanted Kaito to punch his lights out and fucking end our misery, but that would not have solved anything. Anyway, that's a little tangent about Monokuma. Yeah, I don't know. It's so weird for me. I feel so weird putting Monokuma so low. Maybe I'll be nice and put him in D, but like I can't put him higher anymore because he just gets so annoying. I'm sorry, he really does. If you don't think that, that's fine, but he's just not funny by the third game. He really isn't. And like Monokuma theaters they're just bad. Like they got really bad. The quality deteriorated, and I don't think that's really anyone's fault, but it's not compelling anymore. Let's see. Let's get some other minor characters out of the way. Taichi, Fujisaki, put him and Yuta in D because they can't really go higher than that because they had 5 minutes on screen and they were cool. I would have loved to see them more. This is not because I don't like them. It's because I don't know them. I guess Twilight Syndrome Murder Case Girls. I mean, again, it's like I don't hate them, but I barely know them. So it's like not even fair, I don't think. We're going to talk about Danganronpa Zero real briefly, and then we'll get into the anime characters, and then we'll do V3. We're making good time, so just about to hit an hour, which seems excessive and long, and it is. Do not get me wrong, it is long, and no one should be obligated to watch a video that long, but if you made it this far, thank you. And if you haven't, well, then, you know what? It doesn't matter. This guy is Materai. Is that the name? I don't know. But these are like, this is like what they all look like. They're like octuplets or something. That's a pretty cool, pretty neat concept, not gonna lie. The ultimate bodyguard is one of the dudes, one of the survivors of the atrocity at Hope's Peak Academy. The one where like all of the student council people got murked, and they blamed it on Izuru, but it wasn't Izuru because it was them. It was Junko. But it's a pretty cool design, pretty cool concept. Having like he's like, oh, I'm immortal, but it's really because there are 8 of them, not because you can't kill them, but because there's like 8 of them, so they come out like that. But that's pretty cool. They just didn't really have anything to offer. Yuto Kamashiro, I think. The Ultimate Spy. Also a pretty cool concept. And he was a pretty chill guy, not gonna lie. I found him a bit more endearing, even though he was a pervert. But again, yeah, I think Danganronpa Zero has a lot of very interesting concepts and very interesting talents. So like Ultimate Bodyguard, Ultimate Spy, and very muy interesante, and I appreciated that. That was a nice, fresh little thing. Yasuke, I don't know how to pronounce that name, but Matsuda, the Ultimate Neurologist, the guy who created the Neo World program and is basically, and also the memory loss is like where he got it from, like memory suppression. Basically, the reason why Danganronpa is able to happen. He's got a really compelling character. He's a really interesting guy. I'm gonna put him. That's too high. I'll put him right there. He's pretty cool. I like him. Ryoko Otanashi, who, spoiler alert, is actually Junko. So she should be down here with Junko, but you know what? She's actually really fucking cute and really fucking funny, and I appreciate that. So she gets to be higher up, even though it's Junko without her memories. But yeah, no. That's my take. So that I think that rounds off Danganronpa Zero, which is the light novel that is like talks about what happened before the events of the first game. Now let's talk about the anime, which also goes into detail about what happened before the first game. We can, put Bandai down there. He's really useless. Tengen is the absolute worst. Maybe not the absolute worst. Kurokuma is still pretty bad. But Tengen is also very bad. I just don't care what his motivation is because he doesn't have one. It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know. His character makes no sense to me. It's very frustrating. He wants Ryota to do something, but then he also wants all the Future Foundation to die, I guess. But who cares, right? Am I right? Am I right? I'm not right. Probably. Someone's going to have a contention with that. Winner of the worst possible haircut ever is Mr. Munakata here, who's also kind of useless, but also not, so he gets to be slightly higher than Bandai. Munakata's frustrating. Munakata's whole personality is dumb. His haircut is dumb. He is dumb. Like mentally, he is dumb. Um, like he is not a smart person, even though he's the ultimate, you know, like student body president or whatever, which is a dumb thing to be an ultimate of, because how can you be, how can your ultimate thing be like an elected position, you know? I mean, I get what they're going for with that, but like, it seems kind of presumptuous, don't you think? Like, oh, we're going to recruit this guy, he's the ultimate student council president, but no one here at Hope's Peak voted for him. I don't know, it's really weird. I don't care for it. And he's dumb. The only redeeming qualities are of his character really have nothing to do with him. It's his relationship with Chisa, who is a B tier character, and his relationship with Juzo, who is a C tier character. Chisa, we can put her higher than Usami, higher than Makoto, not higher than Jotaro. Chisa and Juzo really do wonders to humanize Munakata, and that frustrates me because I feel like they deserve better than to just be stepping stools for Munakata to have some depth, and he doesn't have any depth. Still, he's still annoying and still makes no sense, and it's still dumb and an ass. But I digress. I Neil digress Tyson. Chisa is definitely, I mean, despite the fact that she did get brainwashed, Chisa definitely has a really caring and kind personality. She cares about her students, which is really nice. And Juzo, while a dick, is very Mondo-esque. He's very reminiscent of Mondo. And that earns him some points, even though he's still kind of pressed. Ryota. I don't hate Ryota. I just don't love him. So he can be D tier, I guess. Great Gozu with the big boys. He's a G. He's a homie. He's part of the Goatee gang too. But yeah, he's a homie. He's really chill. He did not deserve to go out the way that he went out, and it's unfortunate that he did. But it's Danganronpa, so what can you do? What can you do? Koichi Kizakura. Put him right next to Jin. His relationship with Jin is awesome. His relationship with Chisa is pretty cool. His relationship with Kyoko is super nice. And I really appreciate his character. I don't know. I really like characters that are kind of just like, kind of just going with the flow, drunk, laid back kind of guys. Anime has a lot of characters like Kizakura, and I'm a sucker for that kind of character. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. I won't tell you. These three. This is gonna get me some attention. Seiko. I'll be nice. Seiko can be in B tier because she's cute and she did nothing wrong. Fuck Izayoi, honestly, like screw him. But he can be in C tier because he's not a terrible character. He's not a terrible person. And Ruruka goes slightly above him because I will defend this to the death, but just because Izayoi does not have a character other than simping for his girlfriend, which isn't simping, it's just being a very submissive girlfriend, a submissive boyfriend. But just because, she has a manipulative bitch personality doesn't automatically make her worse than having no personality, Izayoi does not have a personality. He has one thing going for him, and that's that he loves Ruruka. Haruka is actually a very interesting character. She has a very interesting arc. She has a very interesting role within the confines of the of the anime. And it's kind of sad, I think, because people, I mean, yeah, she's a terrible person. She does a lot of terrible things. Well, I wouldn't say she's a terrible person, but she does a lot of terrible, terrible things because she's manipulative, she's paranoid, I wouldn't call her power hungry because I don't think she actually wants the power. She just doesn't trust anybody, And I think that, I mean, like, nobody trusts anybody. It's a Danganronpa. You're not supposed to trust anybody. You just get frustrated when the characters who are like, yeah, I'm not going to trust anybody, don't trust anybody, because as if, put in that situation, you wouldn't have, that happen. But there's a lot that I could say about Ruruka that I would like to say about Ruruka. But I don't think she deserves the hate that she gets. I think she is a flawed character, not only in the sense that her morals are obviously flawed, but that her writing is a little bit flawed. I think it could have been a little bit cleaner, and that would have done better to really, showcase what her character is actually like. But, other than that, I think she's a fine character. I see nothing wrong with this. I think she is done the way that she's supposed to be done. And now we get to V3, which we are making great time. Oh, goodness. Oh, goodness. That was embarrassing. I tried. Ah. I might have to edit that out. Yay, I get homework. I'm on a swivel chair, and I tried scooting up to my desk, and one of the swivels popped off, and I fell. So that was great. I might not edit that out because I don't know. We'll see. You'll find out. You might not find out. That's the point. Anyway, we're at V3, and we're less than an hour and 30 minutes, so that's good. You could probably wrap that up a lot quicker if I stop talking now and rank the Monocubs, who I will say, if it wasn't for the fact that they were so overdone, they would not have been that bad. I gotta hand it to the Monocubs. They have a lot of moments. They are very annoying, and they do get grating and irritating. Do not get me wrong. I'm not here at all defending the Monocubs. If you hate the Monocubs, there's a good reason why. But they're not the worst part of V3. V3 is a very complicated game. And major spoilers for V3 because V3 is yeah. But the Monocubs are not the worst part of V3. At least conceptually, they're not the worst part of V3. And there are varying levels of bad. So, like, for instance, Monodum is C tier bad. He's low C tier. Monokid is E tier bad. Low E tier. And that's the far end of the spectrum. This is in between where the Monocubs lie. With Monophony being a higher E, but she's kind of gross, not gonna lie. I don't like Monophony. Monotaro being better than them, and Monosuke being kind of there. I don't know why Ryota was down there. Ryota is definitely not that bad. Yeah, that's kind of the spectrum of terrible for the Monocubs. Monodum is the only one that deserves full rights. Monotaro and Monosuke can have half rights, and Monophony and Monokid can have no rights, for all I care. Anyway, moving on to the real stars of the show, and I mean stars of the show because I think that, generally speaking, the V3 cast is the strongest cast of all the casts. Because, and I'm going to spoiler alert right now, I don't think any of them are in D tier. So let's do the ones that I'm the least fond of, and I think most people are in agreement. Tsumugi, major spoiler, Tsumugi is the mastermind. Tsumugi, to me, at first was a bit underwhelming, and she still is because of the fact that we just don't develop her much before the last trial. And I feel like if we had more of an emotional attachment to Tsumugi, it would have made for a much, more effective reveal. And that's always the thing that always got me from the mastermind reveals in these games, is that the mastermind always feels so disconnected from the rest of the game. That it's like when they're revealed, you don't really have an emotional reaction to it because you didn't really care about that character to begin with. So unless you liked Tsumugi and you did her free time events early on and you liked her or whatever, that's fine. I mean, that might be different, but, I don't think a lot of people did because there were so many other more interesting characters to do the free time events for that it's entirely possible. I think most people probably didn't do Tsumugi the first time through. Which is fine. Again, it's like, I don't know. But Tsumugi, looking in the broader conceptual base of what V3 represents, what the themes are, what kind of we expect from that game and what it presents. V3 being, Tsumugi being the mastermind of V3 makes perfect sense and is actually a really good twist. And like thematically, conceptually, is a really good twist. And I know that the ending, the V3 twist, is a very controversial one. V3's ending is very controversial. You either love it or you hate it, and I happen to love it. From a thematic point of view, from a writer's point of view, and I would love to do a video where I talk about what exactly makes V3's ending work so well for me. Oh, that's embarrassing. I swear. You do one you take one poll from an ad to troll, and then you get registered on everything, and they spam the ever-living god out of your emails. It's cringe. But what was I saying? Yeah, I think thematically, Tsumugi as the mastermind is a pretty good twist, and V3 has a really good ending. But again, that's a time for another day. And then there's only one character. Tsumugi would have been the lowest ranked character, but there is one of these characters who I rank lower than Tsumugi. Can you guess who that character is? 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 Not by much, but Kibo is kind of vanilla. Kibo is kind of dry. Kibo falls into the same kind of dynamic that Tsumugi does. I think their showdown is the weakest showdown in the game, which is kind of a bummer because it's supposed to build up, obviously, as a crescendo to them. And there are a lot of things that I like about Kibo and Tsumugi, and a lot of things that I think are done really well with them. But I just think that they're so boring. I'm going to be upfront with you. I think Tsumugi is a boring character. I think Kibo is a boring character. I'm not interested in and that's why it doesn't work as much for me, because I'm just not invested in in that struggle between those two characters. And with the overarching themes are there, but the character dynamics just don't cut it for me. Everybody else is great. It's pretty great. I'm gonna try and go in reverse order. Kurumi's kind of bland. She gets high C. Yeah, she can go right there. Kurumi being the Prime Minister of Japan is kind of dumb, but other than that, she's a pretty solid character, and I don't hate her. I actually quite like her a lot. Her free time events especially are very compelling and very nice. Kyo, again, if he were just like... I don't even... I think Hyoko is better. I think Mikon is better. I think Teru is better. Yeah, that looks right. Anyway, Kyo and Kurumi kind of fall into the same kind of problem with me. I think the way that they're used in the plot kind of sucks. The way that they're written. Like, Kyo's big freak out moment in chapter 3 is like, But Kyo, conceptually, like, his free time events are some of my favorite. Kurumi, likewise, has really good free time events. And, using that as the major character, where we get most of their backstory and most of their personality from, is really nice, and I appreciate that more, I guess. But yeah, they're better than Tsumugi and Kibo, substantially though. I know it doesn't look like that because the only thing separating Kurumi from Tsumugi is Mukuro and Haiji, but it is a substantial difference. I think Kurumi and Kyo are more compelling than Tsumugi and Kibo, and yeah, that's just me, I guess. But everybody else is at least B tier. I'm actually trying to figure out if any of them are B tier. They might all be at least A tier. Okay, I guess Angie. Angie's really cute. I really love Angie. But she... Now I'm thinking about Atua. They milk that Atua shit. They really milk that Atua shit. So I can't put her higher than B because Atua is just so goddamn annoying. Like and that's, I think, most people's biggest criticism of Angie is that she focuses way too much on being the ultimate cult leader than being the ultimate artist that she actually is, and that's just unfortunate because I think a lot of people were really looking forward to having an ultimate artist, and to have it wasted on a cult leader like Angie is just kind of disappointing. But that's not to say that Angie is a bad character at all, because she's not. I know I did the whole pervert suck kind of thing, and Mew, it's just, Mew's funnier. Like, I laugh a lot. Like, Mew makes me laugh way more than Hifumi, okay? A bit more than Teru. Mew is like a funny, perverted character. That doesn't mean that I forgive her for being a pervert. I think that's disgusting. I think she is disgusting, but that's part of the character. The difference between her being disgusting, Teru being disgusting, and Hifumi being disgusting is that when Mew is disgusting, it's kind of funny. It's not kind of funny. It's really funny, at least to me. But I love the juxtaposition between Mew's personality and her talent, because she's the smartest idiot of the group, and that's counting Kaido, who, mind you, Mew is the ultimate inventor. Kaito Momota, luminary of the stars, is the ultimate astronaut. Like, these two characters theoretically should be incredibly intelligent characters, and they're two of the most emotional dumbasses in the entire game. And I love them for it, don't get me wrong. And I think it's hilarious. But do you understand how incredibly impressive it is to be an inventor or an astronaut? Like, that takes a lot. I don't know, I'm not speaking from experience, but like, a lot goes into that. Anyway, I'm holding on to Kaito. He's not in B tier, he's an A tier, at least. Probably a high A, I have to say. Kaito's a bro. I mean, I can't say that he's not a bro. I think Kaito thematically, and talk about Kaito makes me talk about Kokichi. Thematically, they both work off each other very well. Kokichi's kind of worse, just as a person. So I'm going to put him underneath Kaito. And really, Kaito shouldn't be that high anyway. Yeah, he should. There we go. Chapter 5 of V3 is probably my favorite chapter, period, of Danganronpa. It's my favorite trial, my favorite case, and if... I'm not going to say that that's where it should have ended, but the ending should have had that much emotional impact. Like, I feel like the chapter 5 was so emotional and raw and like built up for so long that it just made what followed underwhelming, to say the least. And it's not to say chapter 6 wasn't good. I think chapter 6 of V3 is the best chapter 6 of any Danganronpa game, but that's not to say that it was better than chapter 5 of V3, because I think chapter 5 of V3 is the best chapter of all Danganronpa games. And you can at me at that, that's fine, but I mean, that's like my opinion, man. And Kokichi plays a big part of that. Kokichi's the archetypal villain, Kaito's the archetypal hero, and they're duking it out. They're doing the brawl and the twist at the end and the execution. It's just good. It's all just good. It's good. Who to talk about next? Let's talk about Gonta. Gentleman Gonta. Gonta gentleman. Gonta gentleman. Gentlemen deserve A tier. Gonta get A tier. Gonta good. Good Gonta. Gonta good. Himiko. I think a lot of people get annoyed by Himiko, and I think some people even think that she shouldn't have survived, but I completely disagree. I think Himiko's arc is probably one of the best written arcs, because she did not have to be. She was literally a gimmicky character. And she did not have to be given that much, like, you know, plot and development. But Himiko definitely deserves her spot among the survivors, I think. And I think she's incredibly well written, and I think she's really funny. I mean, I know a lot of people get annoyed by the whole magic kind of thing, but like, she's funny as heck. Like, I love her, dude. She's really good. She's a well written character, and chapter 3 was a highlight because of what it did to her, not because of the mystery. Good God, no. But no, she was definitely a highlight. I definitely believe that she deserved to survive. Well, I think all of these characters also deserve to survive. But we'll talk about the only one that did and didn't at the same time. Rantaro Manamani. I don't know. I like saying his name really weird. Rantamanamami. Rantaramabada. His name is really fun to say. In case you couldn't tell, I enjoy saying his name. And I enjoy his character too. Think of all the characters that I would like to be. Just like, not like canonically, oh, this is who I want to be from because in that case, I pick like Shuichi or someone who lives. But Rantaro is probably the character that I would be. I literally took like a personality quiz, and it gave me Rantaro, and my ultimate talent being Ultimate Adventurer. Which, spoiler alert for Rantaro Omami, his ultimate talent is that he's the Ultimate Adventurer. Canonically speaking, that is true. Like before, he was the Ultimate Survivor. He was the Ultimate Adventurer. And Rantaro is a very interesting character. Rantaro is also one of the few like down to earth, chill types of characters that, it just seems like he's an easy guy to get along with. And I would love to be as chill as Rantaro. I'm not as chill as Rantaro, but I don't know. I relate to Rantaro. I'm an older brother. I would freak out if I lost any of my sisters on an island. And yeah, I would definitely, go looking for them if that ever happened, which I hope it never does. But life is really weird sometimes. Tenko Chabashira, the ultimate Aikido master. Okay, story time with Liam. I did not care for Tenko at first. My first introduction to V3 was through Nico B, his Let's Play of V3. My brain farted for a bit there. And I did not care for Tenko during that run. When I actually played V3, and like I said, I just finished playing V3 less than a week ago. But when I finished playing through V3, Tenko was one of my favorite characters. I honestly think that if you can get past the whole man-hating thing, there's a really, really, really well-written, really compelling, really awesome character hidden underneath there. And I think, man, you can do a whole video about any of these characters. And I might want to do that. I don't know. We'll see how life goes. But Tenko, the great thing about Tenko is that, she doesn't just hate men because hating men is a thing. Like, I don't know. Her reason for that is so much more interesting and compelling than just being like I don't know, what you would assume, like, oh, she's a radical feminist, bruh, she hates men, like, I don't know. I just feel like people who simplify Tenko's character to that just don't appreciate Tenko's character. And they're not people that I want to talk to. And Ryoma is the final A tier character. And Ryoma gets to go here. Ryoma is so good. And I think his death was the one that I was the most surprised by. Because I legitimately thought that he was going to survive. I thought, and I hoped, I wished, I prayed that he was going to die. I mean, that he was going to survive. And then when he died, it just caught me off guard. And I was like, there was a pit in my stomach. And it just fell. My heart just fell. I don't know. I just think that Ryoma, the way that they handle his like depression and his backstory, it's outlandish, it's ridiculous, it's superfluous. I understand that, but it's so well told that you kind of don't care, like. And Chris Tergliafera, he also voices Gundam, and he also has a Twitch and is playing Danganronpa. He's on V3 now, I think. But he does live streams of him playing Danganronpa. He's a really cool guy. I recommend him. I say that being a nobody. But yeah, no. He's scored big time with these two awesome, awesome characters. But yeah, Ryoma, I think, I thought he was going to survive, and I'm very upset that he did not survive. But anyway, I said that Ryoma was my last A tier character because these last three all go up to S tier. Is Shuichi better than Fuyuhiko? Methinks not. Also, FYI, this is the order of waifus for me. Maki is ultimate waifu, then Kyoko, then Kaide. Anyway, this will be the last thing that we talk about, I guess, because that's all there is to it. But the reason why I think that Shuichi, Maki, and Kaide deserve to be an S tier is the themes. So V3 breaks the mold a little bit by going down, by basically rejecting hope and despair. And that's like the whole point of the last trial. They reject hope and despair, and it's up to Shuichi to kind of sort of convince Maki and Himiko, and I guess technically kind of Kibo, but I don't count Kibo as a real person because I'm robophobic. But basically to reject hope and despair, because the whole point is that they exist in sort of like a yin and yang type of thing, and it's just it's what makes the V3 ending so good, and I can talk about it more extensively later when I'm not drained and not trying to still keep this under 2 hours. But Shuichi embodies just the journey that you go through, of the themes of truth versus lies, him being the ultimate detective, his job being to find the truth, but ultimately coming to acknowledge that, the Kokichi mindset where, a lie can be just as important as the truth. And it really, Shuichi is not the hero of the story. He's not a hero. I don't consider him to be like the hero. He's the main character. Sure, he's technically the protagonist, but if we were looking at this from like a hero versus villain's perspective, he's not. He's like the middle guy, because Kaito and Kokichi are the real. Like, Kaito is the hero and Kokichi is the villain, and the whole point of V3 is that it's not about being the hero or the villain. Like, you don't have to choose either, or you don't have to choose between the two. And ultimately, both Kaito and Kokichi want kind of the same thing. They just go about it different ways, and they think that the other is morally reprehensible because of it. And Shuichi is the bridge, the gap, because obviously he's really good friends with Kaito, but Shuichi lies. Shuichi lies pretty much in every single trial, because I'm pretty sure in every class trial you have to lie at least once at some point, but you at least have the option to lie in every single class trial. And so that's the thing, is that Shuichi partakes in lies because he understands the value of lies, and he has to grow to appreciate, the lies. And, chapter 4 and chapter 5 are really good about, like, chapter 4 being like, here's the hard truth, chapter 5 being like, here are the white lies, and chapter 6 being like, everything was a lie, and thematically speaking, V3 just knows what it's doing. It's the most polished of the 3 games, and if I don't think you can objectively dispute that, because on an objective basis, V3 is an improvement, I think, from 1 and 2, and Shuichi, as the protagonist, kind of, embodies that, really. Because he actually has a personality, he actually has a character arc, and yeah, Hajime and Makoto do, and it's fine. It's just not as compelling because they're both supposed to be like the heroes, they save the day. Shuichi doesn't save the day. Shuichi doesn't defeat the mastermind. He doesn't defeat Samugi. He kind of does, but what does he do? He doesn't play the game. That's the whole thing. Like, she wants him to play the game, and he doesn't play the game. And that's the whole thing. That's not actively, fighting against Tsumugi because that's what she wants. That's the whole point. Kibo does that because Kibo, again, he adopts the Kaito mindset where he has to win. He has to be, the hero that defeats the bad guys. But Shuichi isn't that. And that's what sets him apart between Hajime and Makoto is that, Shuichi understands that there really isn't like a hope versus despair or a good versus bad kind of deal. And it's V3 is the climax of telling a great story, of having great characters and great narrative. Kaide and Maki, not to lump them in together, but they also very much represent, and they're very good at like bolstering Shuichi there. Shuichi obviously reciprocates to Maki because Maki and Shuichi give and take a lot. Maki's development, even though, you can kind of see it as cliche, and that's fine. I think Maki's development as a character is basically like Kyoko, but done a little bit better. She has like the, I have such a tragic backstory Batman moment, and it's cheesy and lame and kind of silly. But, I mean, all of the characters in B3 have that. But the point being that, she ultimately has to choose to, feel what she's feeling. And it puts greater emphasis on her having an emotional arc because of the fact that, well, if what made you feel that way was a lie, are your feelings also lies? And Maki embodies that, because Shuichi, I mean, he kind of does, because he has that, connection with Kaide, but Maki more so, because we're coming off of the heels of her literally confessing her love to Kaito, and it's a beautiful moment. It's one of my favorite moments. But Maki has to basically make this decision, and so does Himiko and Shuichi again. But I think Maki represents it better, is more poignant about it. But Maki basically is the one that's like, you know what? It doesn't matter if Kaito wasn't real, or if you made Kaito be that way, or whatever. Because Kaito made me feel a certain way. And I know that my feelings are not false. They are true. Despite, what you might say is the real cause of the feelings are still my feelings. And I choose to trust my feelings. I choose to love Kaito. I choose to remember him for, how he made me feel, and not how he really was, or whatever. And so it's a really beautiful moment, this rejection of having to, accept the cold, hard truth, and, acknowledging that lies are just as impactful. And when I say lies, I don't mean lies, but like the whole point isn't that like fake news or anything stupid like that. It's bringing up the quality and the importance of fiction, and ultimately I think that a lot of people just don't want to, they just don't want to like the V3 ending, but really it's a really good ending, and I could talk about it forever. But I've already talked a lot about it. And Kaide's great. I hate to shaft Kaide right there at the end, because I realized I didn't talk about her nearly as much as Shuichi or Maki. But Kaide is Kaide. Claire de Lune, that scene makes me cry. I get really emotional. Excuse me. I get really emotional now when I hear Claire de Lune, because that's what I think about. And if you're a Danganronpa fan, you definitely agree with me on that. So there you have it. That is my official tier on tiermaker.com. The premier tier making website. Not sponsored by Tiermaker, but that's just what everyone uses. So yeah, I know a lot of people are going to disagree, and that's fine. And you are more than welcome to tell me all about how I'm wrong in the comments below. I would love to get into a discussion, and please let me know if you want to hear my more in-depth opinions, and I can probably do a better job, because I'm going completely off the cuff in case you hadn't noticed. doing some research, trying to like, maybe write essays, do some video essays about why I think certain characters are better than others and why certain characters suck compared to others, and things that I like about the games or the characters or the story, something, anything like that. If you are more curious about, if you are curious to know more about my opinions on certain characters, make sure you do all the YouTube things. You hit that like button. You hit that subscribe button. You leave that comment. You do all the fancy schmancy YouTube shkadoodle stuff. Do that stuff, and that'd be really cool. I don't know what I'm gonna do with this channel. I hope to do things with this channel. I hope to continue on creating content. I am about to move into my college dorm, so I don't know. We'll see. I'm also on fanfiction.net, and I guess technically Archive of Our Own as well. But I do write fanfiction. That is something that has been predominantly, taking over my free time as of quarantine. So, read my fanfiction. My handle is that one guy everyone hates. I have a few Danganronpa fics in the works right now. Follow me at El Guapo Lime on Instagram, Twitter, I guess. Well, that's not my Twitter handle. I don't know. Do the things. Follow me. Give me a following. That'd be great. Anyway, that is all for today's video. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching and interacting with me. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a fan-diddly-tastic rest of your day. And please continue to stay safe out there. Until next time, goodbye.